All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 6 of the ASG podcast. I am your host, Carlo Pestina. Today, I have two amazing guests. We have Jay again, who's been on like every single episode talking wrestling at Jay on Wrestling. And then we got my boy, James Porcelli. He is the host of the Ruthless Talk podcast. Make sure you guys follow him on all socials. He's got Facebook, he's got TikTok, he's got Instagram. Am I missing anything, James? Is that it?
And YouTube. We are on YouTube.
Yes.
Spotify, Apple Podcasts is where you can find our podcast. That is Ruthless Talk. So subscribe, follow, and if you love wrestling content creators that are very amplified and very honest, then that's the platform for you. If not, some people like it, some people don't. But yes, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Instagram, TikTok, all that stuff. So, but
yeah,
thank you for so much for having me on here. This is going to be fun.
Oh, absolutely. This is going to be a ton of fun. And yes, audience, these guys have been content creators for a minute. They post daily wrestling content. They post stuff that's going to get your blood boiling. They post stuff that you're going to absolutely love, but 100% honesty with both of these amazing content creators. Today, we have an amazing show for you guys. So we first are going to kick things off talking about who we think is going to dethrone every single main champion in WWE. We're not going to get to NXT, guys. I apologize that, but I don't want to spend an hour just going through this one segment. So we're going to go through all the 4 champions on Raw, all the 4 champions on SmackDown. And then after that, we have our all-time best wrestler draft, and it's going to be epic. So 10 picks each. So make sure you guys stick around to see that at the end. So James, since it is your since it is your inaugural episode here, I'm going to have you start off, and we're going to start with the Big Daddy. We're starting off with the WWE Undisputed Championship. Who do you think is going to dethrone Cody Rhodes, and when?
I mean, as of now, that's off the top of my head. I've made many claims, TikTok, Instagram, about who should be dethroning Cody Rhodes. And you would think that the best stage to do that at is at WrestleMania. And the stage that, or the person that I would love to see dethrone Cody Rhodes, and I think it makes the most sense. I don't necessarily believe it's going to happen because it's WWE, and sometimes WWE doesn't like to make much sense of things. But I would love it for it to be Randy Orton. I just think it makes the most sense because that storyline just needs to happen. And what better way to do it than that type of feud on that type of stage? But there's many names. The one name, and I know it's been going around the wrestling world, is The Rock. I don't know why that's even a conversation, but I just have a weird gut feeling they might do something like that. But for me personally, I'm going to say it's Randy Orton. But again, a lot of it is very tough to kind of go over because, again, with The Rock and his story of coming back, because last time we saw The Rock, he talked about he's coming after Cody Rhodes. That's the first initial thing that he's going to do. So we don't know when exactly we're going to have this Orton and Cody Rhodes feud. But if you go down the line with list of names, right, the list is honestly very short to where you have Seth Rollins, who's doing his thing with CM Punk eventually, we assume for WrestleMania. You have guys like, Bronson Reed, who's still trying to find his way through the mid card and maybe into the top spot. LA Knight, who's doing his thing in the mid card. That could be, but I mean, face versus face, I don't know. So I'm going to give you 2 answers, Carlo. I'm either going to say it's Randy Orton or it's the most befuddling choice of them all, and that's The Rock. And I like The Rock. I mean, I love the dude to death. He's still a tremendous performer, even still to this day. But I feel like with The Rock and his emerged back into this bloodline storyline is something that they're going to do. I keep hearing about this triple threat, which I swear to God, I hope it's not a thing. For anybody who's listening to this, right? If anybody mentions, a triple threat is a good idea, tell them no. That's what should be not happening. So I'm going to say, like I said, I'm going to give you 2 answers. I'm going to say it's Orton, because I just think it makes the most sense, but for WWE's sake, it's probably going to be what could be The Rock. So that's my answer, I would say.
All right. Those are 2 probably favorable answers that many wrestling people out there are going to agree with for sure. Jay, now who do you think is going to dethrone Cody Rhodes?
So I'm gonna agree with James on this one. Randy Orton is probably the one that makes the most sense. Going into a big WrestleMania and having Randy go in there as a heel and dethroning Cody, it just makes perfect sense. At least for me, because they have the most history. I understand like the big money, like a lot of people are saying, is The Rock. I personally don't want to see The Rock go against Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. I feel like we're finally going to get into that Roman versus Rock, which should happen at a WrestleMania.
Mhm.
I feel comfortable with saying, and like I said, I'm agreeing with James that Randy Orton makes the most sense. And I'll probably give you another one. Because it's been so long, I would love to see Kevin Owens probably another one go for Cody Rhodes in that championship. But I'm gonna say Randy Orton at WrestleMania because I don't see Cody Rhodes losing before WrestleMania in general, just
Mhm.
because of everything that's building up with him. But definitely, I would say Randy Orton. It would be that top pick for me, also.
Yeah, I definitely agree with both of those answers. Like back to The Rock, and a triple threat. Like I think that will make people mad because of two reasons. I think people kind of know that the bloodline, like having Cody Rhodes involved in the bloodline storyline, is kind of you're not capitalizing on all that Cody Rhodes could do. That's the
Mm-hmm.
first thing. And then I think the second thing is that Rock and Roman, it's like, the feathers have been ruffled ever since Roman has lost at WrestleMania. So that
Mm-hmm.
that feud deserves a one-on-one match. I mean, especially with the Ula Fala potentially on the line. The
Yeah.
Rock really being the one that's been pulling the strings, not Solo Sikoa the whole time. I think that that's really the story that they should play. And then if they do that storyline and then just insert a championship in Cody Rhodes, it feels like it's for nothing. Like that Roman and Rock feud and match would just be wasted.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I definitely agree. My pick is Randy Orton.
Yeah.
I Part of me thinks WWE is kind of holding back because I think we all want to see heel Orton, and I think that people are just thinking that, oh, the crowd might turn on Cody Rhodes, or what are they going to do?
Yeah.
Personally, what I would have loved, because I know Randy Orton is a 14-time WWE champion. In my fantasy booking, I was hoping he'd be a 15-time because I want Randy Orton to win, beat Cody Rhodes. I think it happens at WrestleMania to make him a 16-time champion, and then he fights John Cena later this year, and then we see if John Cena could beat Randy Orton for number 17 to have that one up on Randy Orton. So I think that would be
Yeah.
an epic storyline. But yeah, the history between Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton's there. I mean, and they've been hinting at it for months. Of Orton just looking at the championship in the locker room and in
Yeah.
segments and all these things.
Right.
So
Yeah.
eventually it's going to happen, and
Mhm.
I hope they don't waste it at like a elimination chamber kind of pay per view, or
Yeah. No.
like I'm
Yeah.
like that
No.
deserves to be at WrestleMania. It's just been in the works for a long time.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that is my answer. Randy Orton. I feel like it's more hopeful than anything. I just pray to God we don't get a triple
Yeah.
threat match between The Rock,
Right.
Right.
Cody, and Roman. Please, thank
Well,
you.
and
Don't
I think
happen.
we've been waiting for Cody and Randy to get in it. Like Cody's been here for almost
Mm.
3 years now, and we've only gotten bits and pieces of their interaction, and I think we're just fiending for them just to finally have a damn good feud because we know it's there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like Cody's whole reign has kind of been on like the back burner. He's just coasting until
Hmm.
around Mania time. We're like, okay, now you're gonna face Orton, or like
Yeah,
now you're gonna face Rock, and that's
yeah,
that's one of the problems with his run is that, and like your hot take today, Jay, like I really liked it. That like, yeah, I don't blame Cody Rhodes at all during his
right.
run. I mean, he's put on great quality matches. It's just his booking. There's no believable challenger, and I've told
No,
you about this many times, Jay, that he's just coasting until he has an interaction with The Rock again,
yeah,
or
Exactly.
Orton turns heel, and it's like we need some more believable challengers instead of just coasting and having these easy wins. Like we know he wasn't losing to Solo, we knew he wasn't
yeah,
going to lose to,
Right.
Kevin Owens. It's like it's like stop coasting and actually make some believable challengers for the championship.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Absolutely.
And
And to kind of add
mhm.
on to that of why it should be Randy Orton, right? Because if you go down the line of list of names, like we talked about Kevin Owens and we talked about all these people, there's not going to be a storyline that's going to be more impactful that's going to have Cody Rhodes to drop the championship. There's just
Mhm.
not going to be. And like you said with Cody too, right? It's just this is why I say things about Triple H that not a lot of people like. And it's just, and I appreciate at least what he's doing with people like Bronson Reed, like trying to add a spark into his character, like the interactions he did with Braun Strowman, that's creating headlines. That's what you should be doing with your mid-card division on a daily and to weekly basis. But you see this mid-card to where even on SmackDown, you have LA Knight, who honestly shouldn't even be on SmackDown, because now you have Cody Rhodes and you have Roman both as baby faces. That's pretty much honestly taking all of the, I don't want to say credibility or fame away, but just like you kind of put water underneath the bridge of what LA Knight's doing, because it's not as interesting, nor is it impactful. Why? Because you have two of your mega baby faces on the show. So that's kind of hurting LA Knight's title reign right now, because he's doing the same stuff with Carmelo Hayes and with people like Andrade and with people like Santos Escobar. And you see all these other mid-carders, like who's being built up to be that believable champion, Carlo, like you said, to go up against a Cody Rhodes or a Roman Reigns or whatever. That's the problem. And that's the situation from the jump, from the draft, to where you draft all of these people and you have zero top heels go up against Cody outside of the bloodline. So the only thing that's making Cody relevant is the bloodline in that story, which is why you got that tag, which I never agreed to at all. I just didn't think it was necessary. I don't need to see Roman and Cody team up together, because at this point we need bloodline on bloodline, the new bloodline versus the OG bloodline. So, but in regards to Orton, there's not going to be a story that's going to be more impactful, and him dropping the championship, there's not going to be another story that's going to be as impactful when Cody Rhodes drops that championship to Orton, if it happens, but we'll see.
100%. I mean, that feud, like this year's feud of the year was Drew McIntyre and CM Punk.
Oh, yeah.
I think if they did Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton, that could be the feud of 2025. I mean, that doesn't just have to be a Mania match. They could have 2-3 PLE matches and really make that significantly up the ante every time, like they did with Drew and with Punk. And I think WWE should have more feuds like that just constantly keep building, growing until they hit that peak of like Hell in a Cell with Punk and Drew. It's like, okay, you know.
Well, they did a good job with doing that with Cody and Seth Rollins when Cody came back.
Yes,
I mean they did such a good job with that. But I mean they know that they can do long-term booking, because they did it with Seth and Edge, and they did it somewhat with Edge and Finn Balor. So we know that they can make a good long-term story with those two. But like James is saying, Orton is really the only credible person that you would believe in a one-on-one match. Like, can Cody really beat this guy?
Yeah, 100%. Okay, well, so we got our picks for the WWE champion. Universally, it looks like it's going to be Randy Orton, really praying that it is as well. Now we jump to Raw, going for the World Heavyweight Championship. This one's a little bit more difficult, I think. James, who do you think is going to dethrone the Ring General Gunther?
This is very tough, because he just won that championship just back at SummerSlam. And you would also say maybe WrestleMania as well. I mean, when I think of getting or having a champion being dethroned, it's got to be at a big major stage. And when you think of that, you think of WrestleMania, you think of SummerSlam, you think of Survivor Series. Now, we know that John Cena's having this retirement tour, right? We know it's happening. And I know a lot of people are not going to like this answer, but I think the person that should dethrone Gunther is John Cena. And here's why, because I understand, right? Like we talk about John Cena, like, oh, he's not even a part-timer. Why would you give him a championship? It's not needed. And you're right. It's not needed at all. But you know what wrestling needs a lot more of, fellas? It needs moments, right? You have Cena to where he's on this retirement tour. You want to create as many memorable moments as possible, right? You create that spark by having him get that 17th world championship. And you can do whatever. Now, he's not retiring at WrestleMania. I know that whole retirement tour is going through 2025, the end of that calendar year. But you look at Monday Night Raw as well, to where again, with CM Punk, who's on the Raw roster, we know it's going to be Seth and Punk. At least that's what it's been alluding to. They've already teased that before Punk left, before he went on his hiatus, that Monday Night Raw after Bad Blood. It was Seth and Punk face to face. So you know that's going to happen. It's probably, there's no title that's going to be involved because Seth Rollins doesn't need to be around that championship anytime soon. And your only option outside, I mean, you have Damian Priest, and then your only option is maybe CM Punk. But like I mentioned with Seth, I don't think that's going to happen, nor do I think that, again, a championship needs to be involved with that story. So once again, your options are very, very limited. So my answer, fellas, it's Cena, because right now you're in a position to where you can make a huge, massive moment for a person like John Cena, who, yes, I get it. Some people feel indifferent about Cena. Like, why is he back? He doesn't need to be back. There's a lot of people that just don't.
So I'm all for it.
Yeah, listen, and people like you, Carl, I know that love John Cena and love this. And it's like, oh, he doesn't need to be involved with a title. You can have somebody else be in that spot. And all of that's very true. But guys, like we mentioned about Cody Rhodes and his championship, there's nobody else that's been booked up to that stature as of right now. And again, you have Damian Priest, who's already the next challenger. He's most likely not winning that championship at all. So I don't know. As of right now, again, there's a lot of names. Maybe a CM Punk if they want to go a different route and maybe just have Punk be the guy and then maybe have Punk and Rollins for the championship. There's many ways they can go about it. But if I'm booking this man, I'm giving it to Cena, because why not? Because we know that he's not going to hold on to that championship anytime soon. And there's really also no other definitive challenger for Gunther to take that world title from him. And whether it's maybe WrestleMania, maybe they have it do it after WrestleMania, his title reign, who knows? But as of right now, it's honestly John Cena for me, because you can do so much with his final run within WWE, holding on to that championship, and you can do so much within his retirement tour leading into 2025. So my answer is John Cena.
Great pick. I mean, yeah, he is like the ultimate ambassador for WWE. So, I mean, if they were going to give a championship belt to a older superstar and someone who's really paid their dues in WWE for 20 years, there's no better person than John Cena. I mean, and this retirement tour, it feels like something that like Derek Jeter, what he went through, I mean, his last year, or like Kobe Bryant, it's going to have that same feeling where like they're going to market, hey, this is John Cena's last time in Madison Square Garden. This is John Cena's last time at the Boston Garden. This is his last time in Las Vegas, his last time in Staples Center. It's like you can market the hell out of this. And what better way to do that than give him a World Heavyweight Championship or a WWE Championship? So I think, I mean, from a marketing and business standpoint, this would be a golden opportunity for WWE to go and do that.
And it's a way to honestly, you know, Carlo, if you've noticed, every time John Cena has been back, he has put over a lot of people, as he should.
He hasn't won a match in 6 years.
Right. Right. So this is a great way for this retirement tour to remind people that John Cena is still freaking John Cena, right? And I get it. Like, yes, you have to put certain people over, but it has to be to the right person and it has to be in the right moment. They tried to do it with Austin Theory. That completely fell flat. They did it with Solo. Solo was rocking some good momentum, and they thought it was a good idea to put him on a 40-match losing streak. And now he's in this tribal chief gimmick, and we wonder why we think Jacob Fatu is more superior than him. And that's also weird. But and I can go down the line of list of names that he's putting over that just has not worked. So this is a great way to, yes, in a way, in this retirement tour, you can still do that. But to remind people that Cena is still John Cena, you give him this title, because there's honestly, as of right now, within this roster, there's no really credible talent that's being booked properly to take that title away from Gunther, because you're already doing Damian Priest. CM Punk maybe be next, and that could lead to a Seth Rollins feud. And outside of that, bro, there's nobody else. So it has to be Cena, at least as of now.
All right, Jay. So James picks John Cena. Who do you have?
I feel like, and I agree with what James is saying, John Cena would be an awesome pick for that. But I feel like what they are maybe looking at, though, too, because this whole CM Punk Seth Rollins thing was supposed to happen at last year's WrestleMania. He got injured, and we got the Drew and CM Punk and the Seth and Drew. For some reason, I just feel like they might try to circle back and try to do that again this year, since they're both going to be back. They'll both be healthy, and maybe try to run it again at WrestleMania for that championship, and to maybe potentially get CM Punk to have that WrestleMania main event that he's never had. And that's just something that I've been feeling. John Cena is a good pick, but I don't know. I feel like they would try to run it back to maybe have CM Punk win the Royal Rumble, have Seth Rollins get into that title picture, try to take the title from Gunther, and then they have their match at WrestleMania to kind of make up for the match that they didn't have. So for me, it would be CM Punk, probably Seth Rollins, and then for them to go into WrestleMania for the World Championship to try to make up for what didn't happen last year. So that's just how I kind of see it, to try to maybe circle back to give us the match that they couldn't give us at WrestleMania 40. So I'd say after this whole Bronson Reed thing with Seth, he'll probably become a contender for the World Championship. So that's how I kind of see it. So I'm going to pick Seth Rollins on that one.
So where do you think Gunther would drop this championship if he does? Because the only two places you can do that is probably Survivor Series or Saturday night's main event. You can do that as well.
I mean, you have Royal Rumble too, so they can have a match at the Royal Rumble, which, title changes have happened at the Royal Rumble. So I would say Royal Rumble, at least finish off the year with Gunther as champion and go into the Royal Rumble against Seth Rollins, drop the title to him, and we go CM Punk, Seth Rollins for the World Championship.
Yeah.
Which it's very, I just feel like I think they want, because CM Punk has already talked about wanting to go for the World Heavyweight Championship, and we know that Seth Rollins is always trying to be in the title picture. And again, I think they're just trying to give us that feud that kicked off at Survivor Series when CM Punk came back. And I think they want it to be for a championship, just to make it, because they want to put maybe CM Punk in one of the main events, because that was like his whole harping thing, that he never was able to main event a WrestleMania. And now the fact that it's 2 nights, they could potentially give him that too. So to kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone, he wins the world title and he main events probably night 1 WrestleMania. So, but yeah, I see Gunther maybe losing the championship to Seth Rollins at the Royal Rumble in February.
Yeah. See, that's what makes this conversation so amazing, is that there's a lot of different fantasy booking things that we can do. Now, yes, I definitely know CM Punk wants to main event a WrestleMania. However, though, with it being John Cena's last one and with The Rock being involved, I don't see that happening, because I can see John Cena being in the main event on night 1, and I can see The Rock being in the main event on night 2. So also too, that kind of sucks with Cody Rhodes. Like, is Cody Rhodes going to defend his championship and not be in the main event?
And that's probably why we keep hearing about a triple threat, because Cody Rhodes might be.
Exactly. Because do you want Cody Rhodes to kick off WrestleMania with a championship? Probably not.
No.
But back to CM Punk. CM Punk is my pick, but not at WrestleMania. I got Gunther being the World Heavyweight Champion through WrestleMania. I think he's going to fight John Cena, and he's going to defeat John Cena. I know people, and I'm the biggest John Cena fan, but I think people are going to be really upset at that pick, maybe, to have him lose in his last WrestleMania match. But I think John Cena also at the same time doesn't want his retirement tour to be Super Cena. In my opinion, what they should do is John Cena's storyline should be the hardship to get back to winning that championship, and that's how his year builds. He starts slow, gets an opportunity, fails. He's at Money in the Bank. He's reaching for that contract. Someone screws him. He fails. And then he wins the championship in his last match. That's what I would do with John Cena. Now, back to the World Heavyweight Championship. I got Gunther defeating John Cena at WrestleMania. I think that should be the night 1 main event, because people are going to be so excited. And that's going to put over Gunther as this monstrous heel to defeat John Cena when everyone wanted to see him win the World Championship in his last WrestleMania match. But I got CM Punk defeating Gunther at SummerSlam. I think they're going to want a big match at SummerSlam, because it's 2 nights I think it's in New York, right? MetLife.
Yes, it is.
Yes,
it's in MetLife. So I think you can see Cena having a big match. You can have Punk having a big match. And I almost thought of having Cena winning the championship then. But my only problem with that is that, kind of like what you said, James, is that if you put the championship from Cena at WrestleMania, you know he's got to lose it, and it's just a matter of when. So I want I want it to be in people's heads of like, will Cena actually get this done? And that's why I have Cena winning the championship in his last match in WWE. And then vacating it, and then doing something James absolutely hates, which is a tournament. And for the I'm only kidding. I'm kidding. No.
They will freaking do that. By the way, if they actually
now, since John Cena is going to retire at the end of 2025, what I would do is I would actually have John Cena's last PLE. It's labeled Hustle, Loyalty, and Respect. It's his own PLE. Not Armageddon, not TLC, no BS. It's based around John Cena and his quest to winning that championship. I have Cena win, vacates it, and then the WWE Championship is defended at the Royal Rumble, and the winner wins the WWE Championship. That's what I would do. So, sorry to get off track, but my answer is CM Punk. He defeats Gunther at SummerSlam night 2, because there's 2 nights this year. And then that's when CM Punk kind of starts his road to CM Punk main events WrestleMania 42, like what we said, Jay, in our fantasy booking WrestleMania 42 versus Roman Reigns, a heel CM Punk. So that's kind of how I see this whole thing going.
Okay. And to kind of piggyback what you just said, Carlo, like, and that's why, like I mentioned about Gunther, because that's honestly the best case scenario is honestly for Gunther to hold on to this title past WrestleMania, to be honest with you, because the thing is, again, with Gunther, like you had him be one of the longest reigning Intercontinental champions of all time. And for him to just now abruptly take this title away from him, like what is that? All of that work within the mid-card division, and now for him to hoist up this world title and to lose it within several months, like what is that? What was that all for? So that honestly might be the best case scenario for it. And that's why at least I'm definitely not a fan. And Jay, I completely hear what you said about him taking that title or him losing that title possibly at the Rumble. The reason why I don't like that is because if you're trying to get to Seth and Punk for that title, you're going to have to flip-flop that title a lot. And I don't like having to flip-flop the championship, because you also want to make the championship just as prestigious. Now, we're not talking like a yearly long reign, right? We don't have to go back to the Bruno Sammartino days, but you have to give that championship some type of credibility. And I think, Carlo, honestly, you might have the best answer here to where, yes, I mean, I think for right now, I mean, it's either Punk and Cena, and maybe there's a handful of names that people can maybe pull a rabbit out of the hat or whatever, but having Gunther hold on to this championship at least until Mania, at the very least. But I think the best case scenario is that even for Cena's retirement tour, to where, you want to see him throughout this journey, because it's not ending at WrestleMania. It's going all the way till the end of the year. Yeah. So for Carlo, for what he said, that honestly, that might be the best case scenario, is to have Gunther hold on to this title after Mania. Because if not, then like, what was the point of having him hold on to the IC title for so long? So
that is true.
I feel like it would hurt Gunther's momentum when he could have the opportunity to be the biggest heel in wrestling, defeating John Cena in his last Mania match. And then it kind of hurts Cena a little bit too, because it's like you give him the championship in April, and then what does he do the rest of the year? Right? It's I agree. Yeah, exactly. So like, that's the only problem I think with giving the championship to Cena so soon. Is that like, and I mean, he hasn't won a champ. He hasn't won a match in 6 years, for goodness sake.
Yeah. And I think why
earn his way back up again.
Yeah, and I think the reason why I'm saying Cena at Mania, because like if he does, like, let's say win the championship and then kind of like they have him like strip the title away from him, that they're gonna do a tournament, and I can't stand that content. So at least like have Cena win the championship. And then that's the time to put somebody mega over, and then Cena's able to walk into the sunset knowing that like, not only did I put this dude over, but like now like he's going, whatever that person is, that could be a Braun Breaker, right? That could be a Bronson Reed, hopefully, if his momentum continues. But I think that's why I'm saying Cena at Mania, because when he does retire by the end of this year, you want that opponent that he does put over to catapult him within that moment towards Beyonders to 2026.
Yeah.
So I think that's why, because I know, Carlo and guys, I know this company too well. I've watched this stuff, the Triple H era, long enough now that they're going to be lazy as. Can I curse on here, by the way?
Yes, absolutely.
They're going to be lazy as fuck, and they're just going to do a nonsensical tournament because it's easy, bro. They do it to fill up the show. It's like, what is the best case scenario for us to fill up a wrestling show? Oh, let's throw in a 15+ minute match. Let's throw in a fatal 4-way. Let's throw in a battle royal, a gauntlet match, right? It's easy, you know? So that's probably why my head goes there. But I like your take, Carlo, and that might be the best case scenario. So.
Well, and I think the expectation for Gunther, because most of his career in the WWE, he's been a champion. I mean, he held the NXT UK championship for over 800 days. He was Intercontinental champion for over 600. And I get it. Him making his World Heavyweight Championship short would definitely hurt him in the long run. But yeah, so I agree with you guys on that too. So yeah,
that's what makes it really fun, you know, is that we can always come back to this conversation when it is WrestleMania season, be like, wow, we were so damn wrong, you know.
Yeah.
When it's when Dominic Mysterio finally gets his #1 contendership match that he earned, right, at WrestleMania. Yeah, now don't get me started on that, where he was #1 contender and then lost, and then now Damian Priest is #1 contender, like. Makes no sense to me, but okay. Moving on. Now the next is for the WWE Women's Championship. So currently the champion Nia Jax. I feel like this one is kind of a little bit easy because it's been teased so many times. So James, what's your prediction?
It's probably going to be Tiffany Stratton. They're teasing this face turn. I feel like this face turn is still too soon for Tiffany because you can still be doing a whole lot more with her as a heel. Because she's still brand new. She's still been in WWE, at least the main roster, for a cup of coffee. But then you also have somebody like a Charlotte Flair, to which if people listen to my podcast, where I've been dreading it now for freaking months, to where she's going to come back and she's going to insert herself. She can win the Royal Rumble, by the way, this year. And she'll end up facing, because I'm telling you, the marketing for this, it's Queen Charlotte Flair versus Queen who won Queen of the Ring, Queen Nia. I'm telling you, bro, that's something that they will most likely do. They can do. So it's going to be interesting. It's either going to be Tiffany, or they might just say, screw it. You know, we want to build all of this up for Nia Jax, you know, taking out, you know, people like Bayley, Naomi, probably soon. Her and Naomi are going to possibly have a match soon at some point for that championship. So I'm going to say my answer is going to be, I'm going to say it's Charlotte. I'm going to say it's Charlotte Flair,
Okay.
But there could be a possibility that it's going to be Tiffany Stratton, to where maybe they have Tiffany Stratton win this briefcase. Maybe they have her cash in on Nia, and then maybe they do a triple threat. I can also see that as well with Tiffany, Nia, and Charlotte Flair. So I'm going to say it's Charlotte Flair, probably. So it's
at
either
WrestleMania
Tiffany.
41.
I'm going to say yes at WrestleMania 41. Yes.
Okay. Jay, who do you think is going to defeat Nia Jax?
You know, I'm going to probably say Tiffany, just because I just feel like that building up of her being a babyface, because every time she's, teased it, I think the crowd is getting behind her because they see how Nia's treating her, and I think they're trying to make her that sympathetic babyface now. So when she does cash it in, it's gonna get her that pop that they're looking for. And I can see Tiffany cashing in whenever she does, probably soon. And then I don't know, because maybe with Tiffany going into WrestleMania and defending it against Charlotte, to maybe kind of do like what they did with Charlotte and Rhea, during the WrestleMania pandemic, where it was supposed to be them for the NXT Women's Championship, kind of like maybe pushing it a little bit before she does cash it in. But maybe pushing that to have maybe Tiffany defending the title against Charlotte, or a bigger name at WrestleMania to have Tiffany go over. But definitely Tiffany Stratton to cash in within the next few months, maybe few weeks. So that's probably the only one I can think of. I really don't want to see Charlotte come back and just have another championship match, because that last one that she had, where she just came out and challenged Ronda Rousey when she took the championship from her? It was just so
on a SmackDown.
I think I blinked. I was like, oh shit, she lost the championship to Charlotte. I was like, when did this happen? So I get it. You know, Charlotte Flair is a big name in the women's division, and her being the world champion makes sense. But you know, there's so many other women on there that I think would benefit from them being champion. And I think, you know, unfortunately with Bayley's reign, I think with all the 4 horsewomen not being around, I think they missed the opportunity to build Bayley also. Because I feel like she was like the redheaded stepchild of the 4 horsewomen. But yeah, I got Tiffany cashing in probably in the next few weeks, probably right before the end of the year, maybe at a Saturday night main event.
Your lips to God's ears, man, because that's I hope I'm really wrong. And listen, because we've seen this all the time with Charlotte Flair's booking. So until something else different happens to where, it could happen with Tiffany again. I hope I'm wrong. I pray to God. I like to be wrong and like happy than be right and miserable.
And miserable, I completely agree with you. But so my pick is Tiffany Stratton on that one. So
yeah, I completely agree. My pick is Tiffany Stratton, and it might happen at Survivor Series, maybe happen at the Royal Rumble. I don't know, but Tiffany Stratton will be the women's champion heading into WrestleMania. And then, kind of like what you guys said, Charlotte Flair is arguably one of the greatest women's wrestlers of all time. Yeah. And I mean, you know, she is great in the ring. I get that she has this persona about her, and she always seems to be in the main event, especially at a WrestleMania. So Charlotte Flair, I think, is going to win. A face Tiffany Stratton does appeal me more, because then that would hopefully Triple H would turn Charlotte Flair heel instead of doing face versus face. But I don't want to see Charlotte Flair being face. I actually don't think she is a really good face at all. I think her character is more of a natural heel. So I would get behind that if they had a heel Charlotte Flair win the Royal Rumble and fight Tiffany Stratton at WrestleMania. But do not have Charlotte Flair defeat Tiffany Stratton at WrestleMania. No, please do not do that.
I can see that too, bro. You'll hear it from me, bro. You will hear it from me on my podcast. If that happens, I will lose my absolute shit if that happens, bro. Seriously, I'm not kidding. But
that's how I felt when I saw her win the NXT championship from Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania at 37. I was like, why?
36,
like 36. Yeah. So it's just. Yeah, I like Charlotte. Don't get me wrong. Her and Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania 38 had a great match.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, but just not the championship. I'm good for that.
Okay, so universally, okay. So James, so you said Charlotte Flair.
I'm gonna say, I'm gonna stick to Charlotte Flair. That's just my gut feeling of Charlotte. Okay.
Charlotte Flair. Now, have you thought about this? So what if Tiffany did not cash in at all, and then Charlotte wins a WrestleMania, and then Tiffany cashes in on Charlotte? Could you see that happening or no?
Absolutely. Actually, I actually can see that. But the way that they are, the thing is though, and that honestly, that might be the best case scenario for WWE, because you see what they're doing with Charlotte. They're trying to get her to her father's 16-time title reigns. I think she's already at if she's at 14. I think right now
she's like somewhere around there.
You know that's the end goal, because she wins the championship, she loses it after maybe a month, she leaves for a couple months, and she comes straight back to, maybe if the crowd misses her, she'll get that little cheap pop, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, we're doing the same thing with Charlotte.
Yeah.
But the way that they are doing this tease with Tiffany Stratton, and who knows, again, with this face turn, because Carlo, I love your idea with Charlotte Flair as a heel. I just think she just needs to tap into that and just get away from the title picture. With the way you're seeing Bianca Belair getting away from the title picture with Jade Cargill in this tag team, that's a completely different story. We'll get to the tag titles, I'm sure. But yeah, I can honestly see that happening as well, to where maybe, and again, it's who knows how they stretch that out to WrestleMania to where maybe you would have Nia defeat Charlotte, and then that's when you have Tiffany cash in at WrestleMania. I don't know. I'm just throwing and speaking hypothetically here, but they could do something like that. Yeah, absolutely. I don't think they'll wait that long though. But I mean, I would love to see it. I love Tiffany Stratton. I've spoken so highly about the woman. She just has everything within her character and her just personality. Again, like Jay, like you said, like she has gotten she's just been so beloved by wrestling fans, not just in the States, but like you hear the crowd reaction she got in was in Australia for Elimination Chamber. She was the most favored woman in that matchup. So you know that the connection's there and they want to turn her face. So it honestly depends on how they execute it in regards to how everything kind of just transpires. So
yeah.
Well, I love those picks, and again, I mean, I think it's really between just two choices, just Charlotte and Tiffany Stratton. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that all unfolds. Now let's go to the Raw side in the Women's World Heavyweight Championship. So currently, Liv Morgan is the Women's World Champion. So James, who do you think defeats Liv Morgan and when?
I'll make this easy. It's Rhea Ripley. And when I still have to think about that because they also could because of Rhea Ripley and her injury, and who knows, they did a thing on NXT to where it was pretty much signing her off of television. So who knows when you're going to see her? Probably not for another couple weeks, maybe months. So you could also say it's Mania. Because I don't know because if it's going to be Rhea, I don't know how long you can now stretch this out between Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley. But you can see what they're doing, right? So where Liv Morgan, her revenge tour is pretty much done. She's got the championship. She's got Dominic. She's got all of pretty much the Judgment Day minus Damian Priest. So, and they're probably going to most likely, her and Raquel also win some gold. We'll get to that. And they're continuing to build this Liv Morgan character, this heel character. And they're going to do that by having Rhea Ripley come back. She's going to make this big grand return and then have this, third match? They've had 3 matches now or 2 matches now. So this would be the third matchup.
The third one.
And that's when Rhea Ripley is going to most likely take this championship away from her. Is that the right decision to do to stretch this out? It's debatable. There's so many other females to where if you book them properly, I would love if Io Sky wins the world championship. I mean, I know, granted, her last championship run wasn't the greatest, even though she's also had collectively many good matches. Even one of them was with Charlotte Flair, which is ironic. So I think that as of right now, until otherwise, it's Rhea Ripley for me.
Jay?
You kind of don't see anybody else taking the championship from Liv. I mean, outside of Rhea Ripley, her title reign has only been kind of wrapped around her and Rhea the entire thing. So it just makes sense because she technically never beat Rhea for the championship, even though she did beat her at SummerSlam. It makes more sense that Rhea be the one to end her championship, even if we got to go, like James said, a few more weeks. You just don't see. I mean, I know Io is the new number 1 contender, and they got to build up this whole Raquel and her being a team and making them unstoppable. I don't think I don't see anybody else until they start building other women. And you can say a Bianca, but she's been champion a lot of times already. That you kind of want to see somebody else hold it. But in terms of story and everything, it just makes sense for Rhea to just take her championship back from her. So,
I 100% agree. And I think it's a smart decision by WWE because, I mean, Rhea Ripley is one of the most over faces in the company, and that's including men too. So I think that they want her to get a huge match at WrestleMania, either winning that Women's World Championship or defending it. My only caveat, and it kind of does suck because I think Liv Morgan and her transformation this year has been amazing. I mean, I definitely think her insertion in the Judgment Day, her turning heel, with Dom has been great. My only problem is that she loses that championship, and then just her and Raquel now are just like tag team wrestlers, and Liv is out of that main event spot for good. So I'm hoping that does not happen, which I could easily see happening. So my pick is Rhea Ripley as well. I think she suffered that orbital injury by doing a headbutt, right? Didn't she actually connect?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's an orbital injury with her eye
Yeah.
socket. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I wouldn't think that would be a super long-term injury. I don't know if you would come back at
Depends on the damage, I guess. It seems like it's more severe than we think it is. So who
Yeah.
knows? Yeah.
We'll see. But yeah, I was thinking maybe she'll be in time for the Royal Rumble, which is February 1st. Maybe that gives her enough time to recover and maybe beat Liv Morgan. Kind of like what you said, James. It's a hot storyline. I just don't know how you stretch this 5 more months,
No, I agree. Yeah.
So that's my issue. I say Rhea Ripley before WrestleMania. I say at the Royal Rumble. Okay, so now let's get to the mid-card men championships. So let's start off with SmackDown, the U.S. Championship. James, who do you see defeating LA Knight and when? This is a hard one.
Oh man, this mid card division. Where do I start?
It's funny because he asks these questions and you think it's like, man, it's thin and they have so many people, but it's like you can't think of anybody. That's the tough part.
The only name I can honestly think of right now, and it doesn't make sense because it's a redundant match and we've seen it before, but possibly Carmelo. Because because outside of Carmelo, because again, your mid carders are what? You have LA Knight, you have Carmelo Hayes, you have Andrade, you have Santos Escobar. Like who else do you have? You don't have anybody else. So I think that this company is a little bit more high on Carmelo because he is young, because he is still that young up and coming star. And I think they want to try to potentially build up a new star. We've seen it work and we've seen it not work for many people. So I would honestly say, again, unless there's a name I'm just not thinking of in the moment, I would probably say it's Carmelo, to where Carmelo probably gets a rematch sometime. Probably you could see it at Survivor Series, maybe Saturday night's main event. I don't think LA Knight, I will be shocked actually if LA Knight holds on to this championship at going into WrestleMania. I'll actually be shocked if that's the case, because we don't really see these mid-card championships outside of Gunther being held for a long period of time. So you could see that. You could honestly just see this on a random SmackDown. We've seen it too as well. It could be on a random SmackDown show, maybe like prior to Survivor Series, because God forbid that Triple H wants to book a mid-card title feud for a said pay-per-view, where who knows? I mean, just whatever. So I would say, again, unless there's not a name that I can't think of, I would probably say Carmelo, because at some point they want to build this kid to be a top star, and they're going to start with the mid-card division and probably go from there. So
love that answer, James. All right, Jay, who's going to defeat LA Knight?
Like James was saying, like you can think. I feel like with SmackDown, it's a very heavy tag team show for some reason. Because I was thinking maybe Ciampa, maybe Gargano, but they're in a tag team match. They're tag team. Nobody from the Bloodline, because they're in the Bloodline story. It's just Carmelo Hayes is really the only person. I didn't even think of Santos Escobar. I kind of forgot about him, to be honest with you. The only real heel, because LA Knight is such a good baby face, and I mean, you've got the only one is Carmelo Hayes. I mean, I really can't think of anybody else that could potentially take the title. I mean, he's already beaten him though too.
Yeah,
so
exactly. That's the problem.
That's the thing too. Like he's beaten both of them. I mean, so it's just there's
Tommaso
really
Ciampa would be a great, honestly. I mean, because they're teasing this split too with DIY. So man, if you were to put Ciampa back in that heel role, at least maybe not at least for maybe not at his peak in like an NXT, because I don't know if he'll ever reach that same potential anymore. But if you can get somewhat close to that and start now, like building him now, there's an argument, like you can have Ciampa like remind people how good Tommaso Ciampa is, and have him be that believable diabolical villain to take that title away from LA Knight, who is a beloved star by many fans. So That would be
I love that
that'd be a
pick.
good one. Yeah, well, I mean, we're fantasy booking that at this point,
Yeah.
but but there's really nobody else. Like I
There's
really
nobody
can't.
now.
Yeah, but yeah, I would love to see, like James said, a re-emergence of a heel Ciampa, to kind of do that. But Carmelo Hayes is really the only one I can think of, also. So yeah.
Man, I love that Tomasa Ciampa pick. I didn't even think about that. And I mean, he was such a phenomenal heel in those NXT Black and Gold days. Like,
Yeah.
I was there at 2018 NXT Takeover New Orleans, and there are very few wrestlers who could come out with no theme song and get booed out
That
of the
was
building.
crazy.
And I mean, the only other guy I could think of would be Dominic Mysterio, and that's
Yeah.
probably it. And I was like, so he has all the tools there. I mean, I think for both of them, for Johnny and for Tommaso Ciampa, they both need to break off from each other and be those single stars again.
Yeah.
And like what we just said, it's like the mid-card division on SmackDown and Raw is both super thin.
They're
So
both
just
thin,
like
yeah.
break away from some of these tag teams and then just build that mid-card up. My answer is also Carmelo Hayes. I'm actually a big fan of Carmelo Hayes.
I would love to see too, bro. Sorry to cut you off, but and it's funny because this certain superstar has voked out his frustrations for the past several days. Montez Ford, bro.
Yes.
When the fuck are you gonna push this freaking dude, bro? Listen,
he's an athletic freak.
Much love to Angelo Dawkins, right? He has a place, right? But let's be honest, Montez Ford is Shawn Michaels. Angelo Dawkins is Marty Jannetty. That's just the fact. Being in this tag team to where they're just overstating their welcome. And he has been ready, bro. Montez Ford has been ready for a singles push, whether that is a face or a heel. Another person that I would love to see get that mid-card championship and to get pushed to the moon would be Montez Ford, because he's been ready, bro. Like, he has the personality. He's a tremendous in-ring performer, right? And the crowd loves him. The crowd is behind him. And he's been ready, bro. You see that untapped potential. The problem is, guys, is that this tag division, and we're going to get to it, I'm sure, they're trying to soak out every ounce of the Street Profits because this tag division is so inept that they're going to keep this tag team
100%.
together. And it's doing nothing but lower the steam of Montez Ford, because the longer he's in this tag team, when he does maybe get that opportunity, is it too late? So Montez Ford and Ciampa, though, we're outside of the norm of this mid-card division on SmackDown, those would be the other two options. But realistically, it might just be Carmelo Hayes.
Yeah. But the thing is also, Montez showed that he can hang in because he was in that Elimination Chamber match a couple years ago.
Dude,
going from the top of this,
go
from the top of the cage,
and
jumping 20 feet on the people.
They didn't keep on that, and he has the personality. He can talk. He can go in the ring. Like, that's like one of the most untapped potentials that I've seen in a long time.
Absolutely.
When it comes to somebody like that. Yeah.
And bro, everything that he's been given, bro, he crushes it. Like a home run grand slam out of the freaking ballpark, bro. Every single thing. And you saw it, like you said, Jay, in the Elimination Chamber matchup just a couple years ago, to where the moments, like, he was also the fan favorite of that matchup. And the moment that he created, like you said too, Carlo, hanging from the freaking top of the chamber, falling down, like, this dude has been ready, bro. He's passionate. He cares about getting better and evolving his reputation, bro. Like, give him this opportunity, because again, you give him this shot, and if it fails, okay, so what? At least
but
you try to invest into it. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are definitely bringing up some great wrestlers who I would love to see be put in that position. I just don't see it as of now. Hopefully we are all wrong and the tides kind of turn once it's 2025. But I also say Carmelo Hayes. I'm actually a really big Carmelo Hayes fan. I love his character. I think he's great in the ring. I just wish he had more people to feud with, so that is the only problem, and that's not his fault. But but I definitely think that WWE is going to push him. I think he should be the United States champion. I think he should defend that championship at WrestleMania, to put him on a grand stage and put on, a great match. So my pick is Carmelo Hayes.
Yeah.
Okay, so Carmelo Hayes across the board. Now, for the Intercontinental Championship, this one's going to be really interesting. I have an answer that you guys probably will not even think of. So who do you guys – so James, you first. Who is going to defeat Braun Breaker for the Intercontinental Championship and when?
I think the easy answer is probably Sheamus, because they keep teasing this whole, I want to be a Grand Slam champion, right? So Sheamus is probably, and again, I wish he's been in this shtick with Pete Dunne that I'll be honest with you guys, I can give two shits about. It's just, it doesn't pique my interest at all. They went back to it's like, oh yeah, why don't we go back to the Brawling Brutes, like anybody even cared about that tag team nor faction, and expect everybody to care about a split? Like, what are you, seriously? So Sheamus, I like Sheamus. I really do. I watch his, shout out to him with his Celtic Warrior workout stuff. I think
I love
great.
his page too.
I watch those too.
I love it. Yeah, I love it too. It's great. It's phenomenal. Shout out to him. So yeah, I think the easy answer choice would probably be Sheamus, probably. And I think is honestly, again, if we go back to this mid-card division, really the only believable and the only option, because you have Chad Gable, who's now in this faction with American Made, who's a heel, so you can't put him up against Braun Breaker, who's a heel. Jey Uso, who's already had that championship and got taken away by Braun Breaker, so he's pretty much out of the equation. Another superstar to where, and this is where, again, I go into similar comparison to Montez Ford, to where they've dropped the ball on massively, that's Otis. Otis could have really, truly benefited from the storyline with Chad Gable, but they completely effed that up.
They fumbled that hard.
Whole story completely fell flat. They dropped the ball to where it was the biggest story, maybe not the biggest, but one of the biggest headlines and potential turns that they had, and they completely effed it up.
Yeah.
And he's doing nothing but just being irrelevant with Alpha Academy. Again, that's not being harsh. That's just the way it is.
It's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. And now it's just like you question, like, how high is this company truly on somebody like Otis? And if he does get that championship, is he going to care? Because you lost all that steam that you had with Chad Gable. So outside of Sheamus, I would have loved for Otis to build and catapult him from that Chad Gable feud. But my answer as of right now is Sheamus. When? Again, I can also see this just being on a random Monday Night Raw too, because they don't like putting the championship on a PLE at all. But I would have to think more about that, but it probably will be Sheamus. How they're going to do that, I'm not sure, but it's probably going to be Sheamus.
Okay, good pick, James. I love it. Sheamus, the Celtic Warrior. All right, Jay, who is your pick? Who will defeat Braun Breaker?
For me, if Braun Breaker was a face, I would definitely have picked Dominic Mysterio. I also would have picked Dominic Mysterio to have beaten Jey Uso, because it just would have gotten him twice as much more heat because of the whole connection with Jey Uso and Rhea Ripley. Yeah. But like James is saying, I didn't even think of Sheamus, to be honest with you. For some reason I thought he was on SmackDown, but yeah, he's on Raw. Sheamus definitely makes the right choice. I mean, there hasn't been like another person who we've noticed was a Grand Slam champion in a long time. So I think I definitely like Sheamus to be that, because I feel like it's been a while since he's been putting on really good matches. I mean, let's just admit that, like, even though we don't care about the whole Pete Dunne thing, I mean, their matches have been good. I mean, he's had great matches with Gunther and stuff like that. But I would like to see Sheamus become a Grand Slam champion, to add that last piece of, credential to his great career. So I can see Sheamus doing that too.
Yeah. I love those picks. I love Sheamus. The only problem that I have with Sheamus is I just don't see the follow-up after that. It's like he wins the championship, he gets his kudos. Congrats, man. Pat on the back. Yeah. And then what do you do after that? It's like I just don't see the vision of that. That's the only issue with that. Back to kind of the other mid-carders, it's like, I mean, they fumbled the ball with Otis, like you guys said, fumbled the ball with Chad Gable. They fumbled the ball with both of those guys. I mean, Chad Gable is a tremendous performer. I thought I I think he still has a lot of potential, just booked really terribly. I was thinking Uncle Howdy here, give him some kind of platform on a big PLE, but I just don't see that storyline either because I don't know. I mean,
And
WWE
giving
has
the
fumbled the
titles.
ball with the Wyatt 6 too.
Well,
So,
giving the titles to the Wyatt Six, it's like putting the Universal Championship on the Fiend. It doesn't.
doesn't work.
Those characters don't need championships, and I just
Yeah.
feel like as soon as you put the Fiend in that situation, that whole clusterfuck with him and Seth Rollins at Hell in a Cell, and just completely derailed everything.
Mm-hmm.
So if that was your pick, Carlo, I'm sorry, but it doesn't make sense to put any kind of championships on the Wyatt Six.
And I mean, just like I was trying to think outside of the box because I'm like, well, I don't want it to be like a Jey Uso again, just like something predictable. So I'm like, you know what? Braun Breaker's gonna be the champion for a while. He's gonna be the champion post WrestleMania, and I would take the championship off Braun Breaker on draft night. So you actually have Braun Breaker have an open challenge to whoever the first pick in the draft is, and it is Trick Williams. And I think that's when Trick Williams gets called up to Monday Night Raw, and Trick Williams defeats Braun Breaker for the Intercontinental Championship. I think that there's two things. You make an instant feud and an instant star on the main roster in Trick Williams. I wish they would have done this with Carmelo Hayes when they brought him up. And then two, you actually make the draft interesting and make it mean something instead of just going back and forth with picks. And not just that too, even the draft last year was just like random people making picks. It's like that should be Adam Pearce making picks and Nick Aldis making picks, you know? And so then I would actually put some pizzazz on it. You make Trick Williams on the main roster. He's a star. And then instantly we have some excitement behind the Intercontinental Championship with a hot feud between two guys who feuded in NXT. So
that's true.
I like the idea, actually, honestly.
That's a good idea.
Because again, like, bro, like what else, what other option do you have to create a spark? You really don't. Because like, again, much love to Sheamus. And again, not that would be my choice if I'm putting this pen on paper. But I mean, because what other choice do you have except, you have a guy like Trick Williams who, again, has everything that you want in a character. Like he's got, the entrance and the whoop that trick and everything. So you have him debut and create that spark in the mid-card division to where even, I know we'll get into it later, but the Motor City Machine Guns, right? To where I know a lot of people were indifferent about that title reign, like, oh, why put the belts on them so soon? But like, guys, you need to create a spark.
You do.
Now, with that spark, you also need momentum. So if they can carry that momentum for Trick Williams and, like you said, Carlo, create a feud right out the gate, that's a way they can go to. Will they do that? I'm not confident they will.
Yeah.
And I mean, I would do that on a big day. I would do that Raw after WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I mean,
why not?
Yeah, like why not have the draft on like a big episode of Monday Night Raw, which everyone's going to be tuning into anyway, which is the Raw after WrestleMania. So then you might get some surprises.
And it doesn't even have to be the draft. You could just have him have Trick Williams debut on Monday Night Raw, call his shot, and just, I mean, I hate to have Braun Breaker lose the title on Monday Night Raw, but it is Raw after WrestleMania. You do need a spark with that championship ever since Gunther lost it. So I mean, that would be, I'm fine with that, honestly.
Yeah.
So
and it worked when Paige did it with AJ Lee when she came from NXT and beat her instantly for the women's championship. So I mean,
instantly, and then it made Paige a main event star.
So
okay. So we're gonna get to the tag team stuff, but I want to do this really quick though. Okay. Okay. So just like 1 minute answers. The tag team division is going to be really, really tough.
Oh man, it's thinner than the mid card. So
but let's start off with the men's, the WWE Tag Team Championships. James, who do you have defeating the Motor City?
This is SmackDown Motor City Machine Guns. Oh my god, man! This is what's hard because they just won these titles.
I know,
and it's like, oh my god. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if they just give it back to the Bloodline. They give it back to, again, it's just, it's so unfortunate that they'll, because this tag division is so inept. It's so
And they're
bad.
setting up, I think, the Usos against the Bloodline at WrestleMania, probably most
right.
likely.
Yeah, because they'll
Yeah.
give the titles back to the Bloodline. You got the Usos and Gorillas of Destiny, and then the Usos are going to regain the titles and go into SmackDown. Yeah, so that would probably be my answer choice. Because, and this is the thing too about tag, and I'll make this short. Like you see, like within tag matches, everybody is thrown into one match. Triple threat tags, fatal 4-way tags. So it's hard to pick a contender when all this company does is throw every fucking tag team in a match.
And the same thing, yeah.
Exactly. So I'm going to say the Bloodline. So yeah.
Yeah. And that is my pick too. Jay, who is your pick?
The Bloodline. Yeah. I mean, there's nobody. I mean, you can't say Tommaso and Johnny because they're about to break them up. So the Bloodline. Yeah.
Yeah. No love for Austin Theory and Grayson Waller, who should have broken up like 6 months
They
ago.
need to break them up. They need to break them up. I mean, because
they don't know what the hell they're doing with that, bro. They've dragged that shit for months now. Nobody cares.
Okay, now what about on the men's side? Now this one's difficult because JD McDonough and Finn Balor have defended their titles. What, like
twice,
maybe
twice. Was it once or twice?
No,
twice.
Is it once
or twice.
I only remembered once. I could be wrong. It's either once or twice.
Okay, James. So who is going to defeat JD McDonough and Finn Balor for those World Tag Team titles?
Probably the War Raiders. It doesn't make sense because the War Raiders are heels, the Judgment Day are heels, but I mean, the only name, again, we talked about the Wyatt Six, but that, again, I don't want because the Wyatt Six doesn't need those titles. It would just be really silly because they haven't honestly really been booked as such yet. They're still a brand new faction. So my short answer, it doesn't make sense because it's WWES. We love to do heel versus heel, face versus face. So my answer is probably the War Raiders.
Jay?
Yeah, the War Raiders, because I mean, the New Day is about to break up, and there's no other tag teams that are really capable of holding those titles. So we'll go with the War Raiders too. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, again, like I was thinking of 2 members from the Wyatt Six, and I was like, no, it just doesn't make sense to put the belts on them. I was thinking of American Made to at least give them something to freaking work with, So,
but they're another heel tag team though too.
I know they're another heel tag team, but I am such a believer in Chad Gable that I'm like, just give this team some gold, something to kind of elevate them maybe a little bit.
Bro, they don't even need gold. They just need good booking. They don't even we see it all the time to where I'm sure so many executives are like, oh, they complain like, oh, put the championship on this dude, and then they do it just to shut people up. But just because you have a title doesn't mean that's like good booking. But they could do that to where, hey, we'll throw the belts on frickin' the Wyatt Six, or we'll throw the belts on the Creed brothers because everybody wants it, because we want good booking for American Made and Chad Gable. So here's some titles to shut people up. So
exactly. So unfortunately, that's my pick. American Made, not great, but again, Monday Night Raw, we don't have much to work with. Now let's get to the women's tag team championships. Okay, so this one, I mean, I don't know where to start with this one, but James, I mean, we could see one potential team, and that might be who you're picking. So who's going to beat Jade and Bianca?
I have 2 answers. My first answer is Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, because you see that they're at least trying to tell some sort of a split with Jade and Bianca, which at some point that does need to happen, because the longer you kind of drag Jade and Bianca in this tag team, like how much is it benefiting them when there is no division to work with at all? So Liv, and again, like I mentioned with Liv, it's a way to book up her heel status to when she faces Rhea Ripley again. My other choice, and it's unfortunate because they're also irrelevant right now, is Pure Fusion Collective, is to take those titles away from Jade Cargill and Bianca. But and it's so weird because, again, I like, you have Sonya, you have Shayna Baszler and Zoe Starks, to where their shtick is like they're badass women. They're like mixed martial arts, whatever, that type of style, right? But again, they're a team that hasn't done nothing. Again, even Jay mentioned, like, you forget like they're even on the roster. It's really unfortunate. So that if you were to book them properly, I would have loved for you to put them in that spot. But again, same with the men. It's just like you threw every single tag team against these people in one match, bro.
Yeah.
So what are your options?
Exactly.
And that's it. It's going to be not even really a tag team, but yeah, it's going to be probably Liv and Raquel. So that's my answer.
Jay?
So probably same as James, Raquel and Liv. But at Crown Jewel, I was kind of hoping Lash Legend and Jakara would have taken the titles because that would have been so cool to see these two girls coming up from NXT and just making a memorable night. But I was hoping them. But most likely, you know, to break up Jade and Bianca is going to be Liv and Raquel. But, you know, selfishly, I probably Lash Legend and Jakara from NXT because I think they got secretly called up to the main roster too, which is fine. But I think it would have been a good, fresh way to start them off as a new tag team. So yeah,
most definitely. I definitely think again, like just limited teams to go and choose from. But I would go with Liv and Raquel as well for a clean sweep because kind of like what I said earlier about Liv is that I just don't see her being in that main event women's world champion picture for around WrestleMania. So I definitely think that they're gonna get the belt off of her, award her and Raquel the tag team championships, and then they're gonna be like the next Jade and Bianca. Then they're gonna hold that division down for 6 months, 7 months, or whatever until they eventually have a falling out. They feud, and then it's gonna be the same kind of system again. So so that's my pick. I got Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. Probably, I mean, in my opinion, if you want Jade and Bianca to have a match at WrestleMania, then I say that you need to have this match at least at the Royal Rumble. I mean, instead of like I don't like when feuds just hold off. I understand Drew McIntyre and CM Punk because CM Punk was injured. There was a legitimate reason why. But I wouldn't have Jade and Bianca lose a Survivor Series and then like Jade turns on her either after the match or during the match. It's like you got four more months till WrestleMania. Are you going to milk this thing until that long? That like, what do you do each and every week? Do you write one off TV until the Royal Rumble? What happens? Maybe they can get creative there. So I see it happening after Royal Rumble. That gives Liv enough time to lose the title from Rhea. Hopefully, we don't know when she's going to come back. That kind of puts a whole, question mark on all of this, I think. But I think that's the way WWE kind of wants to head. They want to take the belt off Liv, give it to Rhea, and give Liv the tag team championship. Raquel Rodriguez, So also Liv doesn't lose a ton of momentum because I think Liv will be crushed if it takes the world title off her. Then Rhea has a new story with another female star, and then what does Liv Morgan do?
Yeah,
nothing. So that's the way I see it. Okay, so we got some great picks, guys. So that is the first part of our episode here today, dethroning all the champions in WWE. Now we get to the fun part. So now we get to go and do a draft. So we each are going to have 10 picks each, and we're going to draft the best professional wrestlers of all time on our teams. Okay, so James, I'm going to give you the honors to go first since this is your first episode on the show. So James, so you will go first, then Jay, you'll go second, and I will go third. So James, who is the first pick overall?
I mean, I'm going to take the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. That's going to be my first pick, man. I mean, it's only fitting, right? Mr. WrestleMania, right? I mean, this dude, we talk about his charisma, his mannerism, his persona of course, even from the 80s, early 90s, and late 90s. But like, dude, the dude is a tremendous performer with matches with Bret Hart, matches with Razor Ramon. It's only fitting, it's only right that I pick Shawn Michaels. Arguably could be the greatest in-ring performer of all time. So I'm going to say it's Shawn Michaels.
Literally in my top 20 matches ever, he's in like 8 of them.
Yeah. Dude, Shawn, him and Undertaker, bro. One of the best match I've ever seen in my life, in my tenure, was his match against Undertaker, WrestleMania 25.
Him against Undertaker 3 times, because people forget. Their Hell in a Cell at Bad Blood is arguably the greatest Hell in a Cell of all time as well.
Right, absolutely.
That's another one. Versus Kurt Angle. Tons of great matches.
I mean,
okay. Jay?
So James took my number 1 pick, but I'm going to go with my number 2. I mean, it's going to be Eddie Guerrero.
I knew you were going there. Of course, you got to go Eddie.
Eddie Guerrero. You know what? This man, when he was a babyface, He made you love him. When he was a heel, he made you hate him. Again, charisma. He can have a great match with pretty much anyone. One of my favorite matches of all time, and I don't think people talk about it enough, is WrestleMania 20 with Kurt Angle. Obviously, that Halloween Havoc match that he had with Rey Mysterio in 1996.
Oh yeah.
Eddie Guerrero up there, as you know, he was a high flyer, but he could fight. You know, he could brawl, do all that stuff. Number one for me. Yep, Eddie Guerrero.
Well, that is a fantastic pick, my friend. I am so happy you did not pick my pick, who is the Olympic gold medalist. I got Kurt Angle as my first overall pick. Again, I mean, this man can have a 5-star match with a broomstick, just like Shawn Michaels, and he was great in TNA as well. His career in WWE was short-lived, but again, one of my favorite performers of all time, Kurt Angle. So, James, who is now your second pick? You got HBK first. Who was your second round pick?
The best there is, the best there was, and the best that ever will be. Bret the Hitman Hart is my second pick. I mean, what else do I need to say? It's Bret Hart, bro.
Bret Hart,
just again, I can go down the list of names in regards to matches that he's been with. It's unfortunate, I know he's spoken, and it's been recent. I heard a story about him and Goldberg because, him and his relationship with Goldberg, if you guys know, is not very good. And it's a shame to how his career ended up being because of that match with Goldberg during the end 10 years of WCW and everything. But I mean, dude, like this dude, obviously the charisma is even there too. Even his mic skills, I feel like, is very underrated. But as an in-ring performer, bro, like he's up there, if not the greatest performer of all time. So Bret Hart,
and I said this a long time ago, James, with Bret Hart, he doesn't get enough credit for maybe being one of the people to actually have started the Attitude Era.
Yeah,
because when he snapped on Vince McMahon, when he snapped on Vince McMahon on that Monday Night Raw, and he just lit into him. He doesn't get enough credit of being one of those people to the pioneers of the Attitude Era. So,
that's fair. Yeah.
All right. So James picks Bret Hart. HBK and Bret Hart. My goodness. Jay, you got Eddie Guerrero as your first round pick. Who is your second round pick?
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Whoa. Okay.
This man, I can't say single-handedly, with the help of Bret Hart, with the help of Shawn Michaels, they made wrestling cool again. Like, to make it so the fact that you can make wrestling that energetic, that cool, and what he brought to the table in terms of attitude, promo, fights. He wasn't the greatest wrestler ever, but he was a hell of a fighter and probably one of the greatest to ever do it. So Stone Cold Steve Austin is my number 2.
Nice.
Okay, so just to clarify this is best in-ring wrestlers. So you still want Steve Austin as your number 2?
I'll still stick with him, so that's
fine. Okay. Still, I mean, Steve Austin was a really good wrestler, even when he first came up too. Even when he was stunning Steve Austin.
In WCW,
he didn't have the best gimmick. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, he was still a really good in-ring wrestler.
Yeah.
You got me in a little bit of a bind here, but because I mean, there's like 3 guys that I'm just debating in my head. I got Kurt Angle as my first pick. Ooh, my second pick. I'm gonna go. I'm going AJ Styles. AJ Styles. I remember watching his matches in TNA, and then even him 2016, 2017 SmackDown. The guy was just phenomenal. Matches with John Cena, matches with Bryan Danielson and Brock Lesnar. I mean, he is just a phenomenal in-ring wrestler. So AJ Styles is my second pick. James, who do you got? Round 3. You got HBK, Bret Hart. Who's your third pick?
I am going to go with Bryan Danielson as my third pick.
That's who I was going to go with. I was thinking between either one of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's like these last 10 year of matches within his run in AEW has been very evident of that, and not just again. And I don't think, again, we talk about Bret Hart earlier, like he's also, when he taps into a character as well, like he is also massively underrated, even though like I'm sure people feel indifferent about the whole heel turn when he was all about the all about, the planets, being the planet's champion and
Yeah.
everything.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless of how people felt about that, like, he tapped into that. And when he was a heel, like, he truly, like, when the whole yes movement started, it started as a heel and he just tapped into it. And again, matches, the match that he won the championship at WrestleMania 30, right? With matches with people like Bray Wyatt, to where Bray Wyatt has put on some of his best performances alone. Bray Wyatt himself was because of Daniel Bryan. But I would say Bryan Danielson, again, with matches with people like Kenny Omega recently in AEW, and again, so many down the line. So I think it's pretty, for me, at least it's an easy choice. I'm picking Bryan Danielson. Daniel Bryan is my third pick.
Yeah.
All right, Jay, you got Eddie Guerrero and Stone Cold Steve Austin. Who is your number 3 pick?
Seth freaking Rollins.
I knew you would go there.
Yep.
Love your
I don't know
boy.
if you guys, I don't know if you guys watched the most recent. He did an interview on the Pivot, and they asked him who is his greatest dance partner, and he said he is everybody's best dance partner. I mean, think about the matches he had with AJ Styles, the matches he had with Edge, the matches he had with Finn Balor. I mean, he had a great match with Omos at Backlash. The match he had at Crown Jewel with Bronson Reed. I mean, this man can pull a good match pretty much out of anyone. And when I say the match with Omos at Backlash, he was the one who was probably pretty much doing everything. But I remember that match as one of the best matches that night. Seth freaking Rollins. I mean, you can't go wrong with that man.
Great match.
Nice. I love that.
Okay, so my 3rd round pick, I got Kurt Angle with my 1st pick. I got AJ Styles with my 2nd pick. My 3rd pick, I'm going to go a little old school. I'm going to go Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. That
was one of my picks.
Oh, gosh, that's a good one.
Yes. Him versus Macho Man Randy Savage, WrestleMania 3, such an unbelievable match. Just one of those performers that it didn't matter where he was on the card, but he would always put on a main event caliber match.
Yes.
And that's what I remember the most about those guys like Ricky the Dragon, those guys like Macho Man, those guys like HBK, Bret Hart. It didn't matter where they were. They could be 1st, 4th, 5th. They didn't have to be in the main event. They always cooked.
Yeah.
James, who is your 4th overall pick? You got HBK, Bret Hart, Bryan Danielson. Who's your 4th pick?
I'm going to pick Randy Orton. Randy Orton is my 4th pick.
Yeah.
Now, I
that
know
was going to be my next one. Yeah.
I know he's not really known for being like a really in-ring technician like a Bryan Danielson and others, but man, this dude,
smooth.
Everything, exactly, Carlo, everything that this dude does in that ring, if you watched it for years, is so silky smooth, bro. He makes everything, like, he wrestles like he looks like he's not even trying, bro. Like, that's how freaking good he is in that ring. It's so just natural to him. And again, I guess it runs in the family, right? I guess being a 3rd generation superstar, but still, man, like, it's just, he's so damn good in that ring. He makes everything just so effortless. Again, he makes it look so easy, like he's not even trying. Again, and even with not even that, just the in-ring ability, but again, the feuds that he's created with people like Cena, with people like Triple H, with people like Jeff Hardy, the list goes on and on and on. So Randy Orton, I think, in regards to not just character work and what he's done as a heel, but also as an in-ring performer, because I don't think people bring it up enough. But it's Randy Orton for me.
Randy Orton. Great pick, James. Love that. All right, Jay. Who is your 4th round pick?
I am going to go with Edge / Adam Copeland. So what this man did as a tag team, I fell in love with Edge when he had his rivalry with Kurt Angle early on in his career. Those matches, the matches he had with Eddie Guerrero, that ladder match on SmackDown, the matches that, like, this man, again, heel work, he gets a lot of credit for his babyface run, but his in-ring work, like the matches he had with Seth Rollins also, like later on in his career, and all the stuff that he did before he got injured in AEW. You know, people call him the ultimate opportunist, but like, he doesn't get enough credit on what he can do in the ring. So Edge / Adam Copeland is my next one.
Fantastic pick, man. Fantastic pick. And I'm going to end round 4 with Rey Mysterio. It is kind of a shame to kind of see Rey Mysterio now, but I mean, Rey Mysterio in his prime, I mean, this guy was just an absolute amazing luchador.
Yeah.
I mean, just fantastic matches, WCW, early years in WWE. I always loved watching him wrestle. I mean, you know, as a fan, you were always on the edge of your seat because he was going to do some crazy Hurricane Rana, some backflip, some springboard or something. And I mean, yeah, just amazing matches with Eddie Guerrero, Chris Jericho, Edge, Undertaker. I mean, yeah, like the list goes on and on and on. Rey Mysterio is my 4th round pick.
Nice.
James,
That's a good one.
Is your 5th round pick?
So question, can I choose a female for this list?
Yes, of course.
Then I am going with Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné as my 5th pick.
Okay.
This woman, I said that I've been saying this ever since I've had a podcast. This woman is legit the best female wrestler on the planet right now. Regardless, and I know she's in her shtick in AEW, it hasn't clicked with a lot of people, and it's unfortunate. But that doesn't take away for how good this woman is in that ring. And again, I think Carlo made this reference to, like, she can wrestle with a freaking broomstick and it will be captivating as all hell. She's had one of the best female women's matches I've ever seen, which was NXT TakeOver in Brooklyn, which was 2015, the best women's match I've ever seen to this day. Again, even she has been everybody's best match with even the people like Charlotte Flair, people like Becky Lynch, people like Asuka, people like Io Sky, people like Bianca Belair. The list goes on, man. Sasha Banks, she is everybody's best match. She continues to be everybody's best match. And when it comes to in-ring talents, right, regardless how you feel about her promos, I don't think she's that bad in promos. Again, is it her strength? No. I think when she taps into that heel persona and she does crowd interactions, I think she's the best heel than anybody or anybody in the female women's division, just in wrestling, period. But if we're talking in-ring talent, there is nobody better than Sasha Banks in the last 10 plus years. So my answer is Sasha Banks.
That's fantastic
a good one. I love that, James.
That's
giving her kudos.
Yes.
All right, James. You had Eddie Guerrero, Steve Austin, Seth Rollins, Edge. Who is your 5th round pick?
My 5th round pick. Let's see. I'm gonna go with. I really don't want to say it, but I was gonna say Chris Benoit. He's up there, but after what he did, I don't feel like he needs that kind of credit. But so I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with Asuka. I'm gonna go female. I'm gonna pick Asuka. Again, she's had in NXT. I mean, she was unstoppable. Went into NXT undefeated, and one of the best female wrestlers outside of Sasha Banks and Charlotte. But she can, when booked right, she's dominant. She's a monster. And Asuka. And then people sleep on that match that she had at WrestleMania with Bianca Belair at WrestleMania 39. They went out there and fucking rocked it. They went out there. It started fast. They were hard hitting. Yeah. So Asuka is my next one.
Man, everyone's gonna think I am a misogynist because I'm not gonna have any females on my list. So viewers out there listening, I am not a misogynist. I promise. And back to Chris Benoit, I mean, if it wasn't for what he did, he would have been my 2nd round pick. I mean, because he literally has some of the greatest matches, some of the greatest technical matches in WWE history. So he's definitely up there. Oh man, my 5th round pick, I had him in my head. Oh yes, a man whose career was short-lived and very, very unfortunate, but a man who was just fantastic in the ring. Hoping he gets his honors in the WWE Hall of Fame one day. I'm going with Owen Hart. Owen Hart is my 5th round pick. Just amazing matches with his brother Brett and with British Bulldog. I mean, just a incredible career for someone whose career was cut short, unfortunately.
Yes,
right.
And definitely want to give him his kudos on this list. He is my 5th round pick.
Yeah,
I like that.
James, who was your 6th overall pick?
I'm going to make this round easy for me here. I'm going to say Gunther. Gunther is going to be my 6th round pick here. I think it's a pretty easy answer and also a valuable person to have on this list. Again, with the matches with people like with Sheamus, again, even with Damian Priest, even though it was technically heel versus heel just back at SummerSlam, but the way it was done and the chemistry between those two, they did a very good job. And again, the people with the likes of so many people when Gunther held on to the Intercontinental Championship. So, I mean, he's the ring general for a reason, and he's proven that day by day on a weekly basis. So my answer for my 6th pick is Gunther.
All right, great pick. Jay, who is your 6th pick?
I am going to go with the game Triple H.
Woo, good
So the
pick. I was
cerebral
thinking about him.
assassin. Yeah. I mean, again, doesn't get enough credit. Very good matches. Matches with Shawn Michaels, the matches he had with Kurt Angle, matches with Stone Cold. Like he is
Mick
like
Foley.
Mick Foley. Like he is able to have a match with anyone and it be a pretty great match. So yeah, I'm going to go with the game Triple H.
Love it. My next pick is someone that I've always been a humongous fan of. I know he's gotten a lot of hate, especially because he hasn't been booked the best in his career. But this guy is an amazing athlete. He is one of the best artists, in my opinion, of kicking out. He is taking you to Suplex City, and I'm picking Brock Lesnar as my sixth round.
That's a good
pick.
one. That's a good one.
Brock Lesnar, in my opinion, especially for his size, is one of the best in-ring performers ever.
Mm-hmm.
This guy has had incredible matches. This guy has great character work in the ring. He doesn't need to talk. He had Paul Heyman for the majority of his career. He was just a badass, and he knew who he was, and he was just a suplex machine. I got Brock Lesnar as my sixth-round pick.
Very nice.
James, you had HBK, Bret Hart, Bryan Danielson, Orton, Sasha Banks, and Gunther. That is a stacked team. Who was your seventh round pick?
I'm going to go to another guy who's also a very, honestly, an underrated performer, and that's Dolph Ziggler, who's now known as Nick Nemeth in TNA. Again, another dude that when you see him perform, he makes it look so freaking easy, man. Like, seriously, everything he does, it's like clockwork, man. And the fact that he tastes a little bit of that, top stardom, right, when he held on to that world championship, but there was still so much more for Dolph Ziggler to do in WWE, and it's a shame that, and again, not just within in-ring talent, like I've mentioned with all these stars that I've picked so far, but like the untapped potential that they could have done with their character as a heel, as a face. This dude, Dolph Ziggler, was a fan favorite to so many in the early 2010s. And no doubt is still, till this day, one of the best in-ring performers of all time. So my answer is going to be Nick Nemeth / Dolph Ziggler.
Excellent pick. Love that. I am perfection.
Yes.
All right, Jay. Recap for you. You got Eddie Guerrero, Steve Austin, Seth Rollins, Edge, Asuka, and Triple H. Great team. Who is your seventh round pick?
I'm going to go with Mr. Perfect.
Ooh, love it.
Oh, okay.
I grew up watching.
Do I have a towel in here?
Oh man, I mean the spitting of the gum, the throwing the towel back. Growing up, just some of his in like the matches he had with Bret Hart, SummerSlam, King of the Ring, the matches he had with Ric Flair. People always talk about him, but I feel like he doesn't get enough credit on how good he actually was, and he was a great promo. He made people look good. Mr. Perfect up there is one of the greats. Yes.
Like love his gimmick and loved everything. My next pick, again, if we're talking about technical wrestling, I mean, this guy is the man of 1,000 moves, I think. I'm going Dean Malenko as my seventh round pick. I loved watching him in WCW. Even his time in WWE was very short lived, but I mean, he was just a master of everything. I mean, just his technical holds, his suplexes were executed perfectly. He knew how to take bumps. Dean Malenko is one of the best in-ring performers of my lifetime. He's my seventh round pick.
That's a good one.
All right, James. So we only got 3 more picks left, James. So who is your 8th round pick?
I'm going to pick another female here. I'm going to go with Mickie James. That's going to be my 7th pick.
James.
Okay. A woman that, again, still to this day can still go if she really could, honestly. Again, a wrestler to where you think of, people like Trish Stratus and Lita, obviously valuable reasons, right? But then you have Mickie James to where even still to this day, she could put on a tremendous match at her age, more than any other female wrestler today on this roster in WWE, AEW. I'm talking everywhere. She's made so many great moments and matches with so many women, with people like Beth Phoenix and others. It would be a sin for me not to pick Mickie James on this list. Again, a woman that also, when I think of great in-ring performers, is durability. Like the fact that she's been able to do so well in her craft for such a long period of time, even being a part of TNA for a certain amount of time, just recently, being, big or the hardcore country, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, Mickie James, I mean, she's just a tremendous performer. And again, it would be a sin for me not to put her on my list. So Mickie James is my 7th pick.
Love that pick. All right. Jay, who is your 8th round pick?
So I know people are not happy about his title reign, but he's great. He's a great in-ring worker. I'm going to go with our now WWE champion Cody Rhodes. Having great matches when he came in with Seth Rollins. I mean, a lot of the matches he had with Brody Lee in AEW, that dog collar match. I mean, the matches he had when he was in TNA and New Japan, like he was making a name for himself after he left the WWE. And then the match he had for the NWA Championship against Nick Aldis. I mean, Cody Rhodes can go in the ring. I mean, you can say what you want about his promos, you can say what you want about his title reign right now, but homie, when that bell rings, he's gonna put in that work. So Cody Rhodes.
I love that. Nice.
Yeah. I like that pick. Cody Rhodes has always been a good performer, no matter what.
Yeah.
He's got such a bad rap lately. Like so many people again, I get it. Like his title reign hasn't been great, but like some people like just bash this dude. I'm like, bro, like
for no reason.
Like this dude like is a tremendous storyteller. He's been a tremendous in-ring performer, and they want to trash this dude. Like this dude has no talent. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
And he's the face of WWE when revenue-wise, it's one of the best.
It's at the top, yes.
So I mean, so you have to give him credit for something, And I mean, also too, like, I'm not saying it's solely because of him, but he did come back at WrestleMania 38, and I mean, ever since then, it has been significantly better than AEW.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean,
from that date, we know the growing pains of WWE through COVID 2020 and 2021 and how god awful that was. So I think WWE needed Cody Rhodes just as much as Cody Rhodes needed WWE.
Yeah,
in my opinion, that could be a good hot take for you, Jay. That could be a good hot take.
Well, I was working on a video earlier, but I guess a bit of a spoiler, like talking about, and this will be quick. Cody Rhodes is this generation's John Cena. So when you look at it, so it goes Hulk Hogan, John Cena, Cody Rhodes as the big top 3 white meat baby faces that the WWE has had. So that's
absolutely he is.
Yes. Absolutely, for sure. Yeah.
Yep.
Now I feel like I have to say this guy, even though I haven't watched a ton of his matches because I'm not an old head, but I cannot leave out the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. Just him and just his like charisma in the ring alone is just like amazing to go and see. And I mean, even when Ric Flair was in WWE in the Ruthless Aggression era, I mean, he still had fantastic matches for a man that was well into his 60s,
Yeah.
So I feel like I have to give him credit, and I feel like he has to be on this list somewhere. So my 8th pick is Ric Flair. All right, James, you got 2 more picks left, my friend. Who is your 9th round pick?
Oh, 2 picks. Oh man. My next pick is going to be Chris Jericho.
Oh, you son of a bitch. That was my next one.
That was my next one, too.
I was going back and forth. And I was like, I think someone's going to say Flair first. And then I was like, Jericho was my man growing up. Okay, James.
I beat y'all to the punch. Chris Jericho. Now, look, guys, listen. I know Chris Jericho is also another dude that's gotten a massive bad rap as of late because his recent, tenure with AEW recently, and obviously, some other stuff around the wrestling world that's been going on, dealing with Chris Jericho. But people forget, because of the outlandish hate that Chris Jericho has gotten over the last several months, maybe even over a year now, you forget how damn good of a wrestler this dude was. I mean, yes, obviously right now he's nowhere near what he once was in his prime, but when he was in his prime all the way up till, you can even argue, like even to the 2010s, that
Yeah.
this dude is a tremendous in-ring performer, and he is a master, elite master at his craft. Again, with matches, with going just remembering people again with Shawn Michaels, the stuff that he's done when he first came onto the scene in what was it, 1990? Remind me, fellas. I'm the youngin here, so I don't remember. When did he
99
debut?
is when he debuted in WWE.
That's right. Yes, 1999. Thank you,
1999,
Carlo.
yeah.
Yes. All the way until then, man, this dude is
Benoit,
arguably one of the best in his craft. And again, you forget that because of his recent run in AEW, and it's a shame that that might be a slight tenured in his reputation. But I'm not going to ignore the fact that when this dude was in his prime, this dude was better than anybody. So Chris Jericho is my pick.
Love that
That's
pick.
a good
I've
pick.
always been a huge Chris Jericho fan. All right, Jay, who is your 9th round pick?
My 9th round pick. This one's been tough, but I'm gonna have to go with Johnny Gargano.
Nice.
All
Love
the stuff,
JG.
all the stuff that he did in his NXT run, with Tommaso Ciampa, with Aleister Black, with Andrade, with Ricochet, like he was Mr. NXT for a reason. The fact that they haven't presented that on the main roster is insane. And I've seen some of his work on the indies. Like, this man is probably one of the best to do it, and it's just crazy that he's not getting that kind of push now. But yep, Johnny Gargano's on that list for me.
I love that. Now, my next pick is just someone who, during this entire draft, who has just been coming in my head, and just because I'm an Attitude Era fanboy, and because this man is a part of some of the most memorable moments in WWE history, and I'm going with Jeff Hardy. And I absolutely loved watching Jeff Hardy as a kid. I mean, jumping off freaking ladders. I mean, not the best technical wrestler, but if you want to be entertained in the ring and see some crazy shit going on, watch a Jeff Hardy match. Doing the whisper in the wind from the top of the cage to Umaga. I mean, that was unbelievable. Jumping and doing a swanton 30 feet in the air to Randy Orton through a table off the Titantron. I mean, this guy is just a daredevil and so entertaining. So Jeff Hardy is my 9th round pick.
That's a good one.
All right, James, you got HBK. So to recap, HBK, Bret Hart, Bryan Danielson, Randy Orton, Sasha Banks, Gunther, Dolph Ziggler, Mickie James, and Chris Jericho. This is your final pick. Round 10. Who are you going to end your draft with?
I'm going to end my draft here with another female wrestler, and that is the genius of the sky, Io Sky. Guys, you have a female wrestler who has the best moonsault right now, right? There's Tiffany Stratton. Much love to her. I don't want to take away Tiffany Stratton, but hands down, like Io Sky's moonsault is the best in the game. And not just that, but like her in-ring work is next to none with people like Asuka, with people like a Sasha Banks, and so many others, to where she is honestly, arguably right now, because unfortunately Asuka is injured and we don't know when she's going to come back. She has arguably been the workhorse when it comes to in-ring performances within WWE right now and within this women's division. So my final pick, man, well earned is Io Sky. So
she's a good pick.
Great pick.
That's
she's
a good
amazing.
one.
All right, Jay, to recap your team, you got Eddie Guerrero, Steve Austin, Seth Rollins, Edge, Asuka, Triple H, Mr. Perfect, Cody Rhodes, Johnny Gargano. Who is your last pick?
I'm going to go with CM Punk.
Ooh.
So the stuff that
pick.
he did when he first came into the WWE.
The best in the world himself.
The best. Yes. I mean, the matches he had with John Cena. I mean, we can't even sleep on that. Matches he had with Chris Jericho. The Rey Mysterio feud, when he had his head shaved. Jeff Hardy. I mean, all that stuff. When he left and then when he came back to AEW, the feud he had with MJF was probably the best thing that happened to AEW when he came back. That feud put them both on the map, the feud with him and Eddie Kingston, all that stuff. And then coming back, and this year alone, him and Drew McIntyre had the best fucking rivalry I think you could ever do, and they've only had 3 matches. The fact that you can go from when he came into the Royal Rumble, got injured, WrestleMania till Hell in the Cell. This year alone was definitely Drew McIntyre and CM Punk's year. But yeah, CM Punk is my unfortunately number 10, but I was hoping none of you would pick it. But yeah, he is my number 10.
I love that pick. Yeah, I mean, great pick. CM Punk is someone that I thought about as well. Yeah, I mean, just another guy who is a little bit older, but I mean, even in his Hell in a Cell with Drew McIntyre. I mean, that lasted what, like 35, 40 minutes. I mean, he's in good shape now, Punk. I mean, he's in he's in better shape now than he was in AEW. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah.
I mean, he is in good shape. I mean, he's been putting on some great matches. And I think he's 45 years old. So
yeah.
Recap my team. I got Kurt Angle, AJ Styles, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, Rey Mysterio, Owen Hart, Brock Lesnar, Dean Malenko, Ric Flair, and Jeff Hardy. My last pick. This is another guy who's just been in my head for the last 3 rounds. I just can't get him out. Newly signed to AEW. I'm going the gold standard. I'm going Shelton Benjamin.
Ooh,
I think Shelton Benjamin is one of the most.
Oh man, that's okay.
I think Shelton Benjamin is one of the most underrated wrestlers of all time. I mean, speaking of, yeah, I mean, a man that really first put Money in the Bank on the spot. Just amazing athletic ability in those matches, running up the ladders, backflipping with. I mean, I know the guy's John Morrison too. I mean, I was thinking about him as well. But Shelton Benjamin, I mean, just his match with Shawn Michaels on Raw when he springboarded into the Sweet Chin music, one of the best moments in Raw, probably the best Sweet Chin music of all time. I mean, just an unbelievable wrestler, and just I feel like unfortunately never really had his moment. So but I'm happy to still see him back in professional wrestling. He's in AEW. He's in a good stable now. Hoping it stays that way and they continue to build. But Shelton Benjamin is my final pick.
I like that. That was I was thinking about. Oh man, that's a good pick. That's a good one.
That's definitely a good one. I mean, they sleep on Shelton Benjamin. I think the reason why people sleep on him is because he's just not a good promo. His promos were never great.
Yeah,
it's unfortunate, but talk about a man that can go in the fucking ring. I mean, one of my favorite matches he ever had was against Randy Orton at a Backlash. I think they had for when Randy Orton was still young, and then the match he had at Taboo Tuesday with Jericho when he won the Intercontinental. See, now I'm telling you how old I am for going that far back, but I
remember those matches too.
Yeah, but he's good. He's so good, and again, someone who just the people slept on just because he didn't cut it on the mic. So, but definitely a good one.
I really hope this Hurt Business thing or Hurt Syndicate, I should say, really works out. I mean, the fact that Triple H didn't even and this is from Bobby Lashley's words. I think he's been on many podcasts talking about they had no plans, and MVP has spoken a lot about it as well. He's been very vocal about it. They didn't even consider, even thought about bringing those people back together. They never even should have broken up. They broke it up so abruptly, and it's just it was such a stable that you couldn't possibly F up, and they found a way to F it up. Now, hopefully they can make Triple H and other suits and ties eat their words and what they're doing in AEW and rectify that. And who knows, Ricochet, just saying, I've said it many times, would be a great addition to that because he honestly needs that, because he's also a guy that's not a horrible promo, because, you've seen the promos that he's cutting now. It's not the greatest, but it's not horrible. It's somewhere average to below average. But if you put him in with this faction, right, a way to kind of spark his character, to add some personality into a shtick further along the line, that could benefit Ricochet. But hopefully that works out, because I want them to suck it to Triple H. Suck it, right? Freaking just give one to Triple H. So
and I want them to also, because you know what? I think the one thing that hurt the Hurt Business is it happened during the pandemic, so they didn't really get to push it.
Exactly.
So the one thing, and I made a video about this. I said people wanted the Hurt Business so bad that they need to show up for it. And the fact that Bobby Lashley's debut on YouTube, that video got 1 million views, so that means people want to see this. I want it to work, because for some reason, Bobby Lashley has never really. Yes, he was world heavyweight champion. Yes, he was a U.S. champion. That feud with Brock Lesnar should have been better than what it was. And I just feel like the whole thing got hurt because of the pandemic. And once we got out of it, they just kind of fell off because Bobby Lashley was WWE champion at the first WrestleMania after the pandemic.
Yeah,
So
WrestleMania
I
37 against Drew.
yeah, I feel like he was there, and I just like they like a lot of things in WWE. It doesn't keep its momentum, and they kind of just let it fall to the wayside.
Oh yeah.
So
And I mean,
I hope it works out.
MVP, like he's so good. MVP. I mean, just
Yes.
his character and his mic skills. I mean, MVP is another guy. Like, if we had to do a most underrated draft, he would be on my team. I mean,
Oh,
I
yeah.
absolutely love MVP so much. He's like the perfect guy to be the spokesperson of that stable.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
yeah, I'm really really excited for that. But yeah, just I'm hoping that things in that group start to improve and that they actually have some good stories moving forward.
Yeah, I think
But guys,
so,
this
too.
was a lot of fun. I mean, this was an absolutely blast. What you guys, thank you guys so much for your time here today. Audience, make sure to go and follow these guys. James at his well, you can follow him on his personal account, so at James Porcelli, but also at the Ruthless Talk podcast. Okay, so check him out on Apple, Spotify, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. He got all the connections. Jay as well. Jay on Wrestling. He's on YouTube. He's on TikTok. He's on Instagram. Aren't you on Twitch as well?
No, just YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter, but I don't use it that much.
Okay, and Twitter if you want to get messages that he'll never see. You know, yeah. But guys, thank you so much for your time today, listeners. Thank you so much. And in the comments, I want you guys to comment with your greatest in-ring wrestler of all time. Leave that comment down below for us. And guys, thank you for your time. This was a lot of fun, and we will have to have you all in the pod here real soon.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you guys so much.